brief recap after a bit of a respite for all the characters that took place, as kind of a necessity after the conflict in space, the stress that it involved, the altercations with the First Order, both in physical combat and in ship-to-ship combat. The group of heroes has all sort of had some time to recover, to let the stress leave. Garen's had some time in a Kolto tank, which of course is kind of like old school Bacta, but he's back in fighting form, so after having been allowed that time to recover, the group of characters has been summoned to meet with the Perator of the territory that they've landed in. This Perator, by the name of Geneth Fendrel, and her son was one of the prisoners that they had rescued from the First Order transport. And when they came to meet with her, she said that she might be willing to lend her support to the resistance, but she would need some support of her own, and that she had a proposition to present to them. Ator, kind of intuitively, with her dealings with shady dealers in her past as a slave to a smuggler and less than legal goods dealer, decided to tap into the Force and use it to sense Geneth's intentions, and was actually able to pick up and read on her thoughts. And what she was able to read was that this Perator, this political leader of this particular region, intended to, if possible, use these group of off-worlders, for her own personal intentions to what do you call it? I can't think of the word. Basically, to make one of her competitors look bad and give herself an advantage in a certain political arena. And of course, this is knowledge that only Ator has at this point, because as we're coming into this, the conversation is active. Stepping a little further back, just as a brief recap, for something else that Ator managed to accomplish was that she had some time to meditate within the presence of the holocron that she possesses, and just continually, seeking the will of the Force, and specifically guiding her own path within it, to the intent of finding the sister crystal to her Lordian gemstone within her saber, and was actually able to accomplish that, and find the location of it. We will come back to the location of that at the time that it is appropriate. In fact, actually, just so I remember where this is, and also, Kason, just so you have it for your own personal, I'm going to send it to you in a Steam message real quick.
All right. And Matt, you got the go ahead and roll this die. And gave you roll it too.
Oh yeah,
This one?
Destiny points. Yep. Yeah, we're rolling for Destiny points. Yep. Thank you, Kason. I gotta get in the habit of having us roll that like
No
earlier
problem. I rolled a dark side point, sadly.
Okay.
All right, keep going.
Yes!
Okay. So there's 2 light sides. All right, and I will roll my Destiny points. Ahaha! All right. So
That's awesome.
flip that. I will copy one of these.
One more.
There we go.
Sweet.
So
Sweet.
Destiny is
Sweetums.
very much in the favor of the characters starting off.
Heck yeah, buddy.
And we will see how things unfold as things progress. So,
this is the clue that it gave me, or the image it gave me,
yes,
basically.
that is where the force is leading you as far as you feel the presence of that sister gemstone
All
on
right.
that world. Okay. Um, and yeah, that'll come up here in a little while. So we'll see how all this rolls and unfolds and all that kind of stuff based on the characters here. So coming back into the conversation, sort of rewinding a little bit just to get it flowing. Gwyneth Fendrel says, "I understand that you are representatives of the resistance, and that the resistance is in need of as much support as it can get. I might be sympathetic to your cause, but I'm going to need something in return for my support, or perhaps more appropriately, in advance." Garen would kind of be a bit uncomfortable understanding the nature of such conversational points, and he would ask, "And what kind of support would you be needing from us? Does Ator want to step in, say anything like that, or with her
Nope.
knowledge?" Okay, so she's just gonna stay silent and see how things play out then.
Yep. She's just gonna keep reading her thoughts and see what she's going.
Okay, so
See what it is she's try to figure out what it is she's planning. Reading her thoughts.
okay, so she says, Gwyneth Fendrel, she says, "If I know that you're unfamiliar with our world, and that's quite purposeful. You see, long ago, our ancestors were a part of the Old Republic, and they came here as settlers. But through various happenings, we were abandoned by the Old Republic, and in turn, we abandoned them. We're very proud of being a self-sufficient world, and with being outside of the greater conflicts that have occurred around us. We don't want any part of outside trouble, and we've done very well to repel such outside trouble. For this reason, it will be difficult to convince our people to become involved. There is, however, a council, a collaboration of our territory's governments that will come together and agree upon committing forces to protecting our world from these conflicts. And a position has become open on this council that I'm very interested in attaining, where I need your assistance is in dealing with my competitor for this position. He's a Perator from another territory. I need him to be a less appealing option for this position. And I have knowledge from some of my personnel that are in an advantageous position that there is some evidence of some less than savory activities on his part. All I need is for you, really any one of you, to obtain this information, bring it back to me. If you will do this, then I will speak in support of you among the council. Now, as Ator is reading her thoughts, she gains some, of course, shielded insight, and Ator would, read.
I guess you can just message me through Steam if there's anything in there that she's lying about
Okay.
or being deceitful about.
Okay.
I don't know what her actual thoughts would be. So if she's, I don't know,
Sure.
if she's like thinking about something, double crossing us, or if she's thinking, if she's being deceitful about any part of it or all of it or
Right.
none of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what would be going on. Do you remind me?
Let's see.
But Ator would.
Let me send this message to you real quick. Okay. If, so that we are clear on where we stand, if you do not do this for me, I will be certain to speak out against you among the council. And it will be very unlikely that you will gain the support that you're after. Does anybody want to speak up and say anything at this point?
At this point, I know my character would probably approach you from behind and at least say,
better not approach me from behind. Sick.
Oh, buddy.
Right,
Garen likes it.
This is getting good.
I would approach you and at least whisper into your ear, do what you want, but I've dealt with people like this. They always to be more than what they seem. If there's strings attached, there's even more strings attached. Do you know what I mean?
And Garen would kind of give a subtle nod, kind of not really turning to face you, but but of course hearing what you had to say. And
He likes facing away from you.
And so so he would, sort of acknowledge that, and of course Geneth, Perator Geneth, or Perator Fendrel would kind of watch this exchange, but you wouldn't see her reaction to it. Sort of, you wouldn't see her taken aback or like concerned at all. She's dealt with things of this nature long enough that you get the idea that she's the type to always be thinking ahead, and so Garen would turn to or would refocus his attention to Perator Fendrel and ask, could we have some time to consider your proposition? And Perator Fendrel would sort of, raise her stature up a bit, sort of physically implying, her control at the moment of the situation, just to add that body language to what she was about to say. And she would reply, you may have time to consider this, but this is a private proposition. If this gets out, or if my intention, if I hear that my intentions have been spoken of anywhere outside of our private meeting, be aware that there are consequences. for disloyalty. Garen would look back at her very sort of like unwavering, you know, and stand firmly, not really trying to present himself as a threat, but more just showing that he's not going to be intimidated, and nod, you know, sort of half nod, half bow, and then look to her and say, "We are well aware of what you I'm trying to think of how I'd say this. We are well aware of how you might, or what might unfold if we were to let information out." And so so Garen says to her, "We will take our leave. Thank you for your time and consideration, Perator." And the Perator would give the whole group, more specifically Garen, but give the whole group sort of a intent look, and then nod in sort of dismissal and turn to sort of look around the room as if she was returning to her own thoughts and ideas. Garen would turn to the group and sort of nod to them and gesture for them to leave the chamber and move to somewhere a little more private as far as them being able to discuss options and to make plans moving forward.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Sorry about that.
No problem. Hang on one sec. Hang on, I'm passing Case and Ator's Force Insight real quick.
You're good.
How do you spell that? Oh, I think I've got.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to know. Good.
There. Okay, so Garen sort of, you know, takes the lead and leads the party out of the chamber and sort of out of the municipal building back toward the landing pad. And basically heading straight for the Ardent. As the loading ramp sort of, you know, he activates the controls, the loading ramp lowers, you know, opening the hold, and proceeds in, and he sort of stands in the open the open area of the main hold, kind of what do you call it, facing the group, and you know, sort of posturing himself for a discussion, essentially. And the first thing he does, the first thing he typically likes to do when it comes to making a decision for the group, because he knows it's not just him that's affected. Is Ator with us, by the way, or is she?
So where are we going exactly?
Well, he led
back onto the ship itself?
Yeah, he led the group into the ship because for him that's the most secure sort of place to be able to have a conversation.
Yeah, she'll follow him into the ship.
Okay. I just wasn't sure because you weren't moving your token, so I was like, okay, is she just gonna hang back in the room or what? All right, so one sec here. So as I said, he's walked in. He's kind of stood in the sort of center of the open, hold in the center of this ship, and he's turned to face the group. He hasn't said anything just yet. He's about to, but I don't know if any of you have something to sort of interject before he begins to speak. Or
I want to ask a question.
Sure.
As we walk onto the ship and we go inside. Oh, it's easy to see that we're going to have a conversation, but as we get into the ship, you can easily tell by my face. Everybody in the group can tell that I'm not really happy at this moment. I have a kind of frustrated look on my face, and when we get in there, I ask you, "Are we going to talk about this?" And your response would be,
That's exactly what I intended to do, was talk about this.
And then I would mouth to you, but I can't do that through the computer. I would mouth to you, "Are they listening?" They've been in our ships. So I would mouth that to you.
Garen would turn to Spawn Dawes and kind of do a body language. He would like tap to, like kind of point to his ear, and then kind of point his finger circling around the ship and stuff. Spawn Dawes would move to the console and run an internal scan. And let me see. I'm gonna run this check. Okay.
Nice.
So, as Spawn Dawes runs the internal check, he's certain of the internal scans, and as he's certain of the results, knowing the ship, and confident in his abilities with the scanner, and all of that, finds that there are no unfamiliar devices, and none of the ship's systems have been tweaked to something that would be an ability to listen. So Garen would turn to Exodus and say, "Looks like we're clean."
At that point, Exodus would say, "I don't know about you guys. I don't like it. I don't like this move. I don't know if you've gotten any smarter, Garen, about who you trust, but I don't trust this woman."
Garen would sort of raise an eyebrow at Exodus' comment about getting smarter about who he trusts, but he would sort of bypass that particular comment for the time being and say, "Well, I do know two things. One, I don't like being manipulated, and two, I agree this doesn't feel right, and I don't feel like this would be something that, as a representative of the Resistance, this doesn't seem like something we would want being attached to the Resistance. It doesn't feel right." Would Ator have any input in the conversation at this point?
She just trying to think what she would do. No, she wouldn't. She wouldn't say anything at this point.
Okay. All right. So let me.
Nobody asked her anything, and she didn't.
Okay. Garen would intentionally. Thank you for that. Actually, a remark, because that's a good reminder of something Garen would do. Garen would turn to Ator, wanting to include her in this as a part of this group. And also because of his sort of his understanding of her experience with dealing with people and their intentions. He would turn and ask her, "How do you feel about this? What do you think?"
She would say, "She's not trustworthy, but she will give us what she wants if we give her what she wants."
Garen would
I think we should know. think we should learn more about these people and how they do things before we get involved. And I don't think we know much about her opponent. That
G-
would be helpful information.
Garen,
No, she wouldn't say that. She just say the first part. We should know more about this planet first.
Garen would stroke his chin as his beard and nod in consideration of the input. I think that's a good idea. We do need more information no matter how we choose to proceed. The There is potential danger here, considering what the Perator just asked of us and implied. Um, Garen would turn to Spondaz and say, I want you to go ahead and run a full diagnostic on the Ardent and see if, just make sure everything's in proper order. Um, we want to make. They've worked on our ships for a while now, and want to make sure that they haven't put anything out of place or done any damage to the inadvertently or purposefully done any damage to the ship. Spondaz would nod and say, "You got it, boss," and turn and turn to the console and start running through a diagnostic and kind of set that process in motion, and then start moving around. Getting grabbing death tools and adding them to his tool belt, and just start moving around the ships, getting busy to his work. And Garen would turn to Ator and say, "Do you think that you can gain more information without drawing too much attention to yourself? I don't want you to. I know that we're going to be watched no matter what we do, but if you think you can um, gain some more insight without inciting any violence or ill intention, then that would be very helpful to us right now."
Before she answers, as from the GM, did she looked around in the city, and I'm not familiar with I can't remember the details. Did you tell her about, or did you explain about how the people are, aside from just upscale kind of thing,
Yeah, I
with
mean,
some like
the,
regular servants? Or like what kind of species they were? I don't remember any of that kind
yeah,
of stuff.
well, it's
Yeah,
all
he went.
they're
I just mean, like, if she would think, I'm trying to figure out if she would think that she would stick out like a sore thumb just because of her race or sex or anything like that.
Well, what you would draw some attention in the aspect of this is everything the information we've gained so far, and just from general observation, this is a very xenophobic world, and the species here are human. Like, by and large, you don't really see any. You haven't really noticed any alien or non-human species presence, other than maybe one or two occasionally, but they're they're kind of rare in between, and they
Okay,
they
that's
we
why
don't
I
see.
needed to know for her to give her a response.
Okay.
So she would say, I don't think I'd go unnoticeable.
Do you think that you could do some basic research knowing that you were being watched?
It's doable. I have other plans in mind though. I need to focus. I'll be in my meditation room.
Garen
Or
would
I'll be in. Sorry. She'll say, I'll be in the other room to meditate.
kind of look at her questioningly and be like, and sort of kind of try to catch her with conversation, basically, and be like, "What do you mean other plans?"
I'll tell you later when I get more information.
Garen would kind of
And
raise
she
his
turns and goes back to her room, or to the back room.
Garen would kind of he would uh, sort of what is it, sigh, I guess, but sort of exasperatedly, like a little bit of frustration considering her willful, sort of conduct, like sort of separating herself from the situation at the time and pursuing her own agenda when other things are going on. But for the time being, just to sort of collect himself and decide on more of his own uh, response to the situation they're in, would let her go for the time being. Um, his response to her, he's torn between, wanting to be her sort of commanding officer more or less within the resistance, but also understanding that her alliance at this point is still somewhat tenuous, and still trying to navigate the best way to sort of work with her with the situation they're in. But he would turn his focus then more toward oh man, I think my stream's goofing up. Anyways, he would turn his focus then more toward he'd let Spondos go about his work and turn his focus more toward Exodus. And the first thing he would want to do is he'd tell him thank you for coming to our help. This has been a crazy situation, but I guess this is just another day in the resistance.
Sorry, I had to unmute.
Sure.
Yeah, you're welcome. Didn't really sign up for this, but I mean, are we still gonna get our reward, or I'm not trying to sound like a complete fool, but I mean, I don't know where I fit into all this. I don't even know why I'm still here. I don't understand why I always get caught up in things like this.
Garen sort of smirks and turns toward his training and his understanding within the Force, and just sort of he just respond. Sometimes the Force leads us on very unexpected journeys for our own benefit and the benefit of others.
Well, I can see you haven't changed much, Master Jedi.
Garen would chuckle. I'm far from Master and barely a Jedi, but I won't stop trying.
Well, I guess that made one of us.
He'd kind of broach the subject somewhat carefully and say, how have you been since, and sort of trail off, hoping that you understood the implication.
Since what? Since I had the foresight to leave?
Garen would kind of furrow his brow and frown, say, I suppose it was a bit of foresight considering what happened.
Were you there when it happened?
He somewhat subconsciously reaches up and kind of touches his chest and nods. I was there.
Why didn't you stop?
He looks up with pain and struggle with self-disappointment in his eyes. Says, I tried. He was too powerful. I almost didn't make it out. I was very badly wounded, nearly died, and I I guess the only reason that I'm here now is because he thought he had succeeded in killing me. When I came to, everything was burned and no one was there.
Where's our old fearless leader?
He would,
Where did he go?
Garen would frown at Exodus, at his sort of mocking control or mocking title of Master Skywalker, and would just relay the pertinent information anyway. Nobody really knows. He left and didn't tell anyone where he was going. And there's a lot of speculation about what he's been doing since he's been gone, but truth is, he's just not here. But I trust he has a reason.
At that time, you would see X's face notably become more emotional, more reserved, but yet overwhelmed with emotion, and say, yeah, typical. Not only in him disappearing conveniently when his own nephew does what he does, and you still blindly trusting in his leadership.
Garen would show some subtle anger at his disrespect and his questioning of at Exodus's questioning of Garen's judgment and of Master Skywalker's wisdom and intention. But he would say, it's not just trust in Master Skywalker, it's trust in the Force. And regardless of his reasoning and where he is, I know what I need to do, what I believe the Force is leading me to do. And that is preserve the Jedi however I can.
What if it's meant to die? What if none of this is even meant to be? How are you so certain?
I don't know the future. All I know is the way I believe the Force has guided me this far. And if it's meant to be something different, then the Force will reveal that will when it comes to that point.
I stopped hearing it for a while. There was a time where I couldn't feel it the same.
Maybe.
Until recently. Garen, I'm scared, man. I don't know what's going on with me. I can get overwhelmed at times, and I can't bear it. Can't take it. I don't know what's going on in my own mind.
Maybe you didn't want to hear the Force, but there has definitely been a surgence in it recently. Anyone's felt it, and it's been making itself known and making itself felt and making itself present in large ways, like some kind of, I don't know. But the Force is moving, and this might be a little self-serving, but if you need help, I will pass on what I've learned.
As Exodus looks down and see the emotion is hidden by anger, looks up at Garen and says, "You really haven't changed, have you?"
Garen smirks, somewhat relieved at a little bit of levity re-entering the conversation. says, "No, and I don't know if I ever will. Can't help being the optimist that I am."
I might not know what's going on right now, but something inside me tells me this is where I need to be. As Exodus takes a step forward, he holds his hand out and says, "It's good to see you, old friend."
Garen would reach out and return or complete the handshake and say, "It's good to see you too, and I'm glad you're here. And I think you're right. I think there is a reason for all this, and I think the Force has a greater will behind it. For now, we need to be patient, watchful, and see where we can go from here. If the Force has us here, it's for a reason, and maybe it's only so we can learn from this and move on. But we do need more information."
As of the topic at hand, I haven't seemed to do well with the locals. I don't quite have an understanding with them, and I've already had a few run-ins with some locals, and maybe it's my own fault, but I don't know if I'll even be able to help here. But I'll do what I can.
Garen nods and strokes his beard again. You know, a body language that's inherently a part of him thinking and considering everything at play. And he asks him, "So you said you've kind of dealt with some of the locals. Do you have access to some of their informational network? Even just basic information?"
I've seen a few different places where you can do local research in areas. I feel like I'm being watched, but if I continue to go about my business, they might leave me alone. I might be able to find a kiosk.
Garen nods. That would be helpful. I need to get in contact with my superiors at the Resistance and update them on our status and get some feedback from them. Find out what they believe our best next move should be. We're not going to be able to help but to draw attention to ourselves, because no matter how human we are, the fact remains that we are off-worlders. But if you feel confident you can get the information, whatever, any information would be helpful, then I would be very appreciative.
All right, I'll go back near where they've been letting me hang out inside the facility and see if I can get near one of the computer units. Still trying to do some research on some local droid parts. Maybe that can be my cover.
Garen nods. Sounds like a plan.
All right. Let me know on the comms if you need me.
Will do. Now, as Exodus starts to head back down the ramp, exiting the Ardent, he sees a group of people bringing crates, small, not big crates, but some crates toward their ships, and the one of them says, "We have a delivery for the people who helped in the rescue." And Garen would come down the ramp sort of behind Exodus and say, kind of call over his shoulder, "I guess that's us." How would Exodus respond to this as they come up?
Yeah. What you got there, guys? What is this?
The one group that's sort of in the front would come up and open the crate and reveal what looks like a bunch of geometrically shaped, sort of gold in appearance. Um, not ingots, but like flat pieces, essentially looking like a form of currency. And say, this is to be your reward. This is to be what is it? Compensation for your services in assistance to the Adamori people. Um, what is it? Hang on, I'm trying to come up with a name for it on the fly. um,
our clean taunt currency. No, I'm joking.
Did you say clean cut currency?
Ah, no, Kason, I'm
Oh,
streaming. I'm
Kason.
streaming.
No.
What?
It's not like
Clean con.
it's not gonna be monetized anyway. So
Yeah, we're not making any. I'll be the one to watch this.
So Garen, anyways, they say 15,000 Paranons each,
There you go.
and
So 15. Take it to that ship right there. Let me lower the ramps for you. Right here.
Exodus jumps up and
he just
fixes
runs
him.
over. Yeah, he's like, I'm getting paid.
I don't know what pre-taunts are, but I'm taking them.
I'm in the money. I'm in the money.
All right, so as you so they distribute the Paranons to each. So basically, a Paranon is I think it's the way I'd figured it in my head is basically I'll just say 15,000 each that we get because of the weight and material of this currency and all that kind of stuff. What could be sort of converted, be the equivalent of about 10,000 credits each.
Nice.
So considering the effort that was made to let's see. Oh man, these counters only go up to like 999.
To 1,000. Yeah, 999.
Okay, so I'm gonna do some work here. Clearly, they didn't have in mind.
Wasn't meant for currency, I guess.
I guess, yeah, or at least not. Well, I guess if you were thinking of currency in like old school, you would think like people would have 10,000 gold or something. All right. There you go. You got two. You guys are rich enough to
Maybe
have.
they're saying you paid too much.
Yeah. You guys are rich enough to have 2 credit counters now. So.
It's a credit card.
All right. So add your, basically max it out 999 on one and then add 1 to the other.
Add 1.
Yep.
I'll just do 50-50 on it.
Oops. That works. Okay. So.
That was loud.
What was that? You hear something in the background of mine, or?
What?
Sounded like something slammed or something.
Oh. I wonder if that was me. I wouldn't think of me hitting my key would be that loud.
I didn't hear it.
I heard whap. Can they back? That looks like a Nubian ship, but gold. The noble blade.
Yeah, kinda. It's a quick sort of cut job for basically a placeholder. Something that looks a little closer
Cut
to
job.
a little closer to what in my head anyway, sort of the regal Adumari craft would look like. So the noble blade actually has some history to it, but obviously our characters wouldn't be aware of that
Nice.
without doing some research into it and such. So, all right. So now the characters have been, or the characters, our heroes have received some monetary compensation for their actions, their heroic actions thus far, and sort of have some things in motion. And we have about another hour to play, so we will keep rolling
Why is
along.
that?
Matt's got some stuff he's got to attend to, so.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. So, but I mean, we're moving along.
That is accurate.
All right. So, as Exodus.
Yeah, every guy needs a jack off every once in a while.
What is it? The gotta release the pressure somehow. The pressure valve, nature's pressure valve. Um.
Yeah.
All right. So, as uh, Exodus heads off to acquire his information, um, we'll come back to Exodus.
Now, do I
And
need to
his,
make any kind of checks or anything for that kind of stuff?
we'll get around to that, and
Okay.
so we'll come back to that. But for the moment, Garen is going to he's going
Go
to
finish a conversation.
yeah. Firstly, he's going to do what he needs to do as an officer of the Resistance and make a hollow call to the superiors, the commanding officers back aboard the Andor, and he would cut to Garen sort of in front of the sort of all-in-one terminal aboard the Ardent. It also has a holo projector and punching into communication protocols and blue glowing hologram of a Resistance general would display, sort of appear, form into view, and in response to the frequency that he accessed in secure codes. Hang on one sec. I gotta look at my names here, my cast of characters. Actually, it wouldn't be a general because they report to Commander Aeonian Rain. There we go. So Commander Rain would, appear in the hollow and in response.
Hey, Ant Commander.
Yeah, it's actually spelled differently, but yeah, it's Rhane.
General Johnson.
General Johnson. I was watching. I hate to criticize somebody else's RP, but I was watching some YouTube videos on somebody else doing a Star Wars RP, and they had like all of those kinds of names, like just like Johnson and Smith, and I'm just like, oh come on, put a little more effort than that. Like, I know Star Wars is supposed to be somewhat familiar, and you can get away with some normal sounding names here and there, but you gotta
That'd be great. Yeah, it'll be like John Smith, Johnny Smithy, Joe Smith, Joe Smee.
Oh man, no. But anyway, so we'll see. What's funny is Joe Smee actually. You get away with that with some Star Wars stuff. Like it's some of it is literally broken down or rearranged names. Some of it is like there's a character even that's like Orn Frita, which is like I think George Lucas got that name from like the way one of his kids said corn fritter. I think.
Fritos.
So, but anyways, so it's coming back to the story at hand. Commander Aeonian Rain would materialize in hologram form before Garen and say,
Chocolate Rain.
Chocolate would respond to his call and say, Lieutenant Farstride, it's good to be hearing from you. Are you doing all right out there? Were you successful in aiding the Adamar, or the Adamari? And Garen would reply, yes, ma'am, we were, or actually, appropriate protocol, sorry. Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, sir, we were able to rescue the ship in distress. Unfortunately, involved another entanglement with the First Order, but we were able to get their people to safety. And it was actually, they had captured engineers, the son of a political leader, and children. And the commander would sort of frown and sort of consider for a second and say, I can't say that's too surprising considering they're always trying to build up their forces. They're always trying to build their military strength, both in technological and personnel resources. It's good that you've contacted us and given us your status, and in fact, we were hoping to get in contact with you soon because we've completed analyzation of a good chunk of the data that you were able to recover from the light cruiser that you managed to sabotage. And we've come across a major asset of the First Orders that we're going to need to eliminate in order to keep them from continuing to gain the upper hand. The difficult part of it is that it's going to require a precise tactical strike and any military power we can muster. How has your relation to the Adamari gone so far? And Garen would frown a little bit and say, well, it's gone well from the aspect of them being grateful for our actions and their assistance. But one of the political leaders here is trying to put us in a position. She's offering support of the resistance here on Adamar, but she wants us to discredit one of her political opponents in return for her support. The commander would sort of take a long moment to consider the information, and then very sort of intently continue and say, I don't want the resistance to be tarnished in how we conduct ourselves on other worlds. But considering the operation we're going to be facing, we need every bit of assistance we can get. I'm not telling you to follow this politician's agenda, but we need the support of the Adamari, and I will leave it to your team's discretion on how to achieve that end. We need you to accomplish this in short time, however, because we need to move quickly for this operation to be a success, and we're going to need you to return to the Andor very soon. Garen sort of frowns at the decision sort of being left back on him and those that are under his leadership, and but resolves himself to resolves himself to his determination that and his trust in the Force that they will find a way, one way or another, to achieve what they need to. He'll respond to Commander Rain. Yes, sir. We will do whatever we can, and we will report back to the Andor as quickly as possible. Commander Rain would respond to Garen, saying, be careful. May the Force be with you. And Garen would reply, and with you as well, sir. And then cut the transmission. He would stand, trying to consider options for a moment, sort of thinking to himself, and then he would turn and intend to move toward, he would turn and move through the ship to the back where Ator has been accustomed to meditating in one of the few spaces where there's some privacy and sort of relative drown out of noise, more by the mechanics of the ship, but it's at least a sort of droning that can be used to tune other things out. Let's see. I'm trying to think of which narrative follow. Okay, so I'll continue with Garen sort of moving back to speak to Ator. So he would come to the door of this small, more or less an airlock at the back of the ship, because that's where one of the entry and exit hatches is in the back. It's also kind of an equipment room armory. It's just again sort of an efficient use of the small space of the ship as possible. And stand at the door, sort of looking in to find Ator. I'm assuming she's meditating as she usually does.
No, she's first she's when she first went back in there, she started looking for the through her data pad for information on Tatooine.
Okay. All right.
So how do you want me to roll for that?
Um.
Let's see, this year.
Hmm. Okay. Let me look at your stats here. Now, is she from Tatooine? I can't remember if you said.
No, she's
Okay.
not from Tatooine.
Okay. I couldn't remember what world you said she was from, where she was a slave and stuff.
Let me double check.
Because that will have an effect as well. But we'll see.
She has no memory of where she was born. She just smuggler. So she was with a slave, sold to a trader, sold from trader to trader until being sold to a smuggler slash gun runner named
Okay.
Aldegab.
Okay.
Ooh, that's terrible.
So.
So she was
That sounds nasty.
so she was basically just a child labor slave, and then she sold to him, and spent the most time as his slave. And he was a smuggler slash gun runner, so he didn't really spend that much time in any particular place. But he's probably been to Tatooine, based
Was
on just
she was
the kind
she
of place it is, but not like any real amount of time there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
was
Right.
she
She
a slave or just a normal slave?
No.
she was a slave.
No, just a normal. We're keeping it PG. PG.
Okay.
So, like you said, child labor slave.
You mean
There's no.
you mean was she a sex worker? Sex
Ye-
slave?
I mean, yeah. Sadly, I mean, a young female like that being slaved out in the galaxy.
We don't talk about such thing. It is a mystery, like Joker in the Dark Knight.
Poor thing.
Okay, so you are
You
doing
don't know the background,
uh,
and you don't want to.
you are doing a
Let's put a smile on that face.
Whoa, buddy.
Jeez,
We're
this
gonna
just got real dark.
we have to say way darker
You bring
than
up the Joker.
way
You know
darker
how I
than we
got
should.
these scars.
Oh no.
You mess with that toy.
That's terrible. All right.
Okay.
So you're doing a computers check,
Okay, computers check.
and you're getting
Or get normal computers check.
yeah, and you're getting a boost die. Yeah, and it's gonna be it's gonna be an average check, because unless you're looking for something very specific.
No, just any information on Tatooine, basically,
Okay, so and
on my data pad.
you're getting a boost die based on what you're looking sort of some of your outer rim basically knowledge, and having dealt with kind of been there once and all that kind of stuff. And so it's kind of like you're sort of, to me, Ator, having sort of been there vaguely remembering it just once, remembering what she didn't like the temperature there, I'm guessing. But anyways, yeah, so roll that and see what comes up.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
2 successes.
All right, 2 successes. So Ator, as she pulls, she does some research, accessing kind of long range access, not really wanting to use Adamar's sort of network, because from her understanding so far, they're not going to know much anyway. But accesses the HoloNet, the galactic HoloNet, basically.
.com.
And brings up information on Tatooine, and it's for an outer rim world. It's got a little bit more sort of information research done on it, because it's had some notable events or notable people sort of come from there. Obviously there's going to be some things about, the great, the hero of the rebellion, Luke Skywalker, having, been born there, and the maybe some, as you're browsing through, you'll see a clip come up of the death of a well-known crime boss who had ties to the Hutts and the Black Sun criminal organization, and et cetera, et cetera. And you also, of course, have the coordinates of come up with the coordinates of the world, and some hyperspace routes to get there, and some general information about it as well. Like, it's mostly a desert planet. It has 2 suns, and the majority of what's done there is trade in general, and some moisture farming, by the local inhabitants. So you do see that it is a world that isn't necessarily a part of core trading networks, but that it is a planet that has a reputation for being havens for less than reputable people of less than reputable trade. So I think that's kind of sums up the information that you would get from that research through the data pad.
All right. So I don't know how long that would have taken her to research.
It would have, like, you would have had. I'm trying to think, like Garen and you would have basically been able to skim over that information, garner that much from the amount of time you'd have with Garen and Exodus, having their conversation, and then Garen sort of taking a couple of moments to himself to consider things, make the communication to his superiors in the Resistance, and then take a couple more minutes to kind of collect himself, think to himself about things, and then come back and approach you. So basically,
All right.
at
So
this
basically,
point,
he just approached her as she was to interrupt her research there.
more or less, yeah. Like, that's the information. You've gotten most of that, at least, from during that time as he comes to the door, and so do you notice him when he comes to the door, or is he gonna have to, like, sort of get your attention?
No, she notices him if she's just doing the research there, and she's just on her data pad, just looking up stuff.
Okay.
So
So does she say anything to him, or does she just kind of glance up and see him there, and then kind of stay focused on what she's doing?
glances up and then focuses looking for more research.
So he would sort of again, be conscious of how he approaches her, not wanting to. He understands with Atora, with his interactions with her so far, that she's. He understands her sort of loose alliance, and so he's always trying to be diplomatic, I suppose you could say. And he's like, "Can I talk to you for a minute?"
She says, "I was about to look at the holocron and speak to the what do they call them?
A construct. I call it a construct.
Con-
Okay.
I guess I don't know. Would she call it a construct, or would she just call it a guide or something general like that?
She could call it that. Yeah, I mean that makes sense from her perspective.
Or she just she turns around and says, I was just about to seek guidance from the holocron. Do you need help with anything?
Garen would.
I'm available at the moment.
Garen would.
Mm.
Shut up, Matt.
About time this story takes it.
Oh, Matt, I got another Star Wars Jonathan Smithsonian.
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
Hey, you like that one?
All right.
Should be like Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Jonathan Smithsonian.
Jonathan Smithsonian. Or Smithsonian.
Smithsonian. Yeah, there you go.
Smithsonian.
Jonathan Smithsonian.
Okay, so Garen was saying.
So Garen would come to. So he would say, "Well, I actually would like the opportunity to be present when you use the holocron, just because any more knowledge I can gain, I always welcome. But specifically right now, I'd like to ask you about the plans you had. You mentioned having some plans, and I need to know what your intentions are."
She pulls out her lightsaber and and shows the area where, basically as if she was just holding the crystal itself in her hand, holds it out, and and says, "I was looking for information on the sister crystal.
Garen,
I'm
oh,
searching for it, and I found just clues, but so far I know that it has something to do with tattooing. So I was searched information, but I was seeking more guidance from the holocron for anything to do with tattooing."
Garen sort of cocks his head to the side and raises his eyebrow, kind of moving his head forward in interest at the mention of tattooing, just because of his you know having spent time with Master Skywalker and the brief amount of time he had training on his temple. He's heard him mention Tatooine, knows he's from there, and he says, and so he kind of says, "Tatooine?" And he says, I don't understand. Why do you need to go to Tatooine? How do you know the crystal's there?"
The Force is guiding me there.
Garen sort of he kind of you know uh, gets pensive, as he usually does, always considering the information that he gains as it comes to him, and now he's sort of trying to balance all of these things in play in his mind, because he's almost feeling like there's the force is moving almost in so many directions all at once. And he kind of nods and says, "Well, if the force is guiding you there, I don't want to interfere with the guidance of the force, and I don't want to interfere with your path and its will. Would
She
you
says,
go ahead,
she interrupts her. She says, I don't have to seek guidance at this moment. Uh, we'll need to finish up our plans here before I can even go to Tatooine.
Garen?"
Uh,
Oh, sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
what do we need to do right now, or what do we need to do left on this planet,
Garen sort of
or can we just go?
Garen exhales a sort of a sigh of relief, not at the fact that he's not going to have to figure out what to do about or that he's that have they have the opportunity to do what they need to do here without having to leave, basically. And he says, "Well, we need to finish here fairly quickly, because uh, the resistance is going to need help with an operation against the First Order, um, and what the resistance has asked of us, what we need to do here is for the operation." And he thinks about the way that Ator looks at the world, and like kind of reminds himself that when it comes to her, he needs to not phrase it in military agendas and more in personal um, personal the way that the actions of the forces at play affect the people. He says, in order to strike out against the First Order and the way that it's trying to oppress the people of the galaxy, the Resistance needs the support of the people of Adamar, and whatever aid they can give to us. And so they've asked us to attain that aid however we see fit. And I need your help. I need everyone, all of our help, in order to achieve this goal, in order to formulate the right plan to achieve what we need. Does Ator say anything in response to that, or maybe he I'm guessing somebody had to come in and talk to him in IRL.
Hey, I gotta mute you guys real quick, but I'm listening.
Oh, sorry. Did you not hear me?
No, did not hear anything.
Oh, sorry. She turns her head away slightly, uh, and slightly downward, and starts to ponder, and then she says, "With people like her, they can be difficult to deal with if you cross them. So if it would be risky to take um, any action besides helping her or just leaving now. But she's not a. I don't think she's a good person."
Garen nods in consideration of Ator's input and says, I agree, I don't think she's a good person, and I know that she presents, if not danger, then at least powerful opposition if we don't follow her agenda. There's got to be a way to navigate this that in a way that won't involve us or that in her own personal entanglements but still accomplishes what we need. In dealing with, alright, you spent some time here, you've been out and you've been among the people to an extent when you came to visit me at the medical center. Did you see any potential for any ally, any help outside of her ultimatum?
They're all humans. It's difficult to tell. I didn't speak much to them, but wait, your character's human, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you might be able to get around unnoticed if you change your clothing.
Did you have contact with anyone that we might be able to make more contacts from?
I've only spoken to the driver who escorted me to the facilities. Beyond that, I haven't really spoken to many people.
Garen nods and thinks for just a moment and says, how did the driver seem? Did he seem friendly?
Very professional.
Do you think he might be helpful in any way? Actually,
Hard to say.
let me rephrase that. Do you feel like he would have strict loyalty or obligation to the Perator?
Difficult to say. You try to talk to him yourself.
Garen nods.
You might. Or sorry. What? Oh, Garen nods. Okay.
Um, he would look at Tor and say, I know that your presence is noticeable here, but you have interacted with the driver and he is familiar with you, and I also know the talent you have for your insight into people. So I'd like to have you come along with me, and while we see what kind of alliances we can find outside of the agendas that are at play.
Uh, so what time is it at this point then? Is it nighttime? Is it middle of the day?
It
Trying to remember.
considering everything that's happened, it'd be late morning. Because we
Late
got
morning.
we like first kind of early morning, first thing in the morning, we came to the back to the municipal building, because the Perator, um, requested a meeting with us basically, and then after we had that conversation and the things that have ensued, we'll say that it's it's about mid morning basically. Um, so
She says, okay, just give me some time to gather myself. I've being on this planet has not done well for my connection to the force.
Garen nods and replies, "Considering the things at play, it might do me well to connect with the Force as well. You said you wanted to spend some time with the holocron, and I'd like to give Exodus some time to do what he set out to do. Um, so this might be an opportune time for that."
I'm I'd rather just meditate alone for now.
Garen sighs, a little disappointed, a little frustrated at her still sort of keeping, him at sort of arm's length essentially. Um, but he nods and says, "Very well. If you use the holocron, I would like the opportunity to gain the knowledge that you do. If it's not a dang it, my words are failing me today. Um,
I know what you mean.
if it's not too much of an imposition, but
Imposition.
I will leave you to your meditation."
Ator responds, I'm not really using the holocron right now. I'm just going to meditate and try to seek the force on this planet.
Garen nods and
There's something dark here, and I'm struggling with uh, finding the. Oh shoot! What? There's something dark on this planet, and I'm trying to seek the peace.
Garen nods and gives a small bow. Says, "Let me know if you need anything. I will be meditating as well."
Will do.
And so Garen sort of finds a spot, sort of a little bit open spot off to the side within the ship, and uh, you know, returns to his training, his meditation training, tuning out everything that's going on around. Sponta's doing his work around the ship, and trying as he sees Garen meditating, he goes he goes back and forth between trying to do his work quietly and not disturb Garen, and yet his mischievous streak sort of kicking in and dropping things loudly intentionally just to see if he can make Garen's concentration waver as a little bit of personal entertainment. Um, and
Garen uses his movability to, to strangle.
that'd be for if I had force bind, that would be appropriate. Because I think force, that would probably be what you'd use for that, would be force bind. I think.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
I don't know. I've actually haven't thought to look up what they do. Did you know? This is a side note from the RP. Did you know they don't really?
Bind immobilizes them.
Well, what I'm saying is, to me, it immobilizes, but it also feels like it could be played upon for constrict. The reason I say this is
That'd be
because
interesting.
that there's not actually, how like in the movies, like in episode 1 where Obi-Wan like uses the force to push that battle droid, like do a force push move. There's not actually a force push in this game. Like the way that I've seen it, like the way that the very
Well,
ancients.
actually, that basically is force push.
What, force bind?
You can move, yeah, you can move the objects where you want.
Well, I've heard that, or I've seen people kind of talk about bind, but a lot of them talk about force move also, and that makes sense.
No, that's what I'm saying. Force move.
Oh, yeah,
Force
yeah,
move is what does that.
yeah. But see
Force push and force pull is both just force move.
right, But they don't have anything that specifically talks about a wave of force energy, throwing a person to the ground or anything like that. So you have to kind of play with the mechanics of it to make it work.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's why I said force bind would probably work for that. All right. Anyways, so
That would be interesting because maybe use force bind to immobilize their lungs, so their lung can't move,
well, I'm also thinking bind.
so or their diaphragm can't move, so
The
they can't breathe in and out.
that could be an interesting application, separate from choke. And I'm also thinking force, since bind is another word for constrict, so it's almost like he's constricting the larynx, or the windpipe kind of
Sure.
thing. So, but anyways, um, so um, Garen and Ator are both taking time to sort of connect with the force, meditate, and so we will cut to Exodus. So
Exodus.
we will we'll kind of move forward a little bit in time, kind of do a little bit of a time cut to after Exodus has already left the municipal building. Like where would we come to as far as him? What would he have done? Where would he have proceeded as far as all that goes?
My only thought would be that if he's seen some kind of computer interface places, someplace, maybe he would try to, nonchalantly scroll back to that place and spend some time maybe in the area and kind of see if anybody's watching him, maybe sit down and pretend to be doing local research to see if there was droid parts dealers, and then looking into doing his best to secretly as he could look into this guy, this opponent, and find out what he could about this guy, at least on the data bank that's more public knowledge.
Okay, so first thing I want you to do, let me ask you this, from a narrative perspective. Would Exodus have purposefully been trying to avoid being followed? Is that the way he would conduct himself, based on his?
In my thought process, he would have pretty much figured that he was going to be followed, and knowing that he was going to be followed, just tried to do what he does more in the open, and not trying to be too secretive about it.
Okay.
He feels in a way if they see him trying to duck them or hide them on his scent. But if he's just like la 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 la, still being me, looking for free food, gonna go to a kiosk and look up about local droid parts dealers, and instead he's looking up research.
Okay, so based on that aspect, we're going to do a deception check.
Okay.
Because that's kind of his intention behind the way he's conducting himself, is to deceive those that are following him into thinking that he's, not really doing anything conspicuous or anything like that. So,
Well, if he's not aware that he's being followed.
well, no, he said he's not aware that he's being followed, but he's operating with the assumption that he is. So that's the point.
I was gonna say if he's being followed, he should be doing a perception check to see if he's.
I don't know if I am. I'm assuming that.
So, and
Gotcha.
that was the next thing I was going to add. Well, actually, we'll ask this, and then this might tweak the order a little bit, but we'll see. Would he be actively looking for someone to be tailing him, or would he just be focused on what he's doing and sort of conduct himself under that assumption?
I guess. Oh, well, that's a good question. I guess at first, to make his way to the data port or whatever you want to call it, just kind of nonchalantly trying to be more deceptive about his intentions. But once he's there, then starting to log on and try to find the guy, he then would be on the lookout to see, is anybody watching me? Is anybody looking at me? So I guess it's a twofer.
Okay, so you're gonna do you're gonna stick with the deception check, and it is going to be it's going to be an upgraded average check. So do one difficulty, one challenge.
Okay.
And roll that beautiful beam footage, as you like to say. Let's see how the check. Ooh, nice. Okay.
Nice.
Okay, so I will keep that in my back pocket.
Okay.
Okay, and actually I know exactly how to roll that. All right, so now, having done that, so as you kind of made your way down the streets, you weren't really trying to draw attention, but you're just kind of acting nonchalant, like, yeah, I know I'm an off-worlder, I know that everybody's kind of looking at me, and you do turn heads as you're making your way down down the street toward the local data caf lounge, we'll call it, which is it'd be somewhat equivalent to our what do you call it, internet cafes, but in Star Wars, of course, it's data links and such, and then coffee is called caf. So at any rate, especially as you walk in, you definitely turn some heads. People kind of look up from their data banks, and they kind of take a second look because your clothes are different. Even your kind of complexion and everything about you is obviously not Adamari. So they kind of look at you curiously, and not out of like suspicion, other than maybe a little bit of. A few of them wouldn't be really happy about an off-worlder just because of the general mindset of Adamar that's been passed down through generations. But a lot of it is curiosity from the aspect of it has been so many generations since the Adamari have felt betrayed by the rest of the people of the galaxy and such. So now it draws a little more sort of cautious curiosity. But they kind of look at you, they're interested, and then some of them might even secretly try to snap an image of you or something just out of interest. But you move to an open space with an accessible terminal, and the terminal is a little odd. From it's different from what you're used to, just because you're noticing Adamar, again, because of its sort of disconnect from the galaxy at large. It's done things its own way, but it's easy enough to navigate. They do still use BASIC as their language. They still use a recognizable variation of Arabesh for their alphabet and font, and so you log onto this terminal using the public access information that they sort of have there for you to use, and of course it's limited access. You would only have sort of basic access because they don't want people getting into unsavory things. Even among the Adamari people, there's less than reputable activities.
Bunch of basic bitches.
So now I want you to do a.
He doesn't have any strain now, right?
Oh yeah, no, remove that strain. I don't even know
Okay.
where that came
Thought
from,
so.
but
It was the role I did. It was part of the role I did.
Oh, okay.
The droids.
That's right. Well, you've had time to kind of. Well,
Yeah, it's recovered by now.
do you think two?
My
strain?
ship still has strain.
Yeah. That's gonna stay there until it can be.
It gets fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And until it's noticed to be fixed too, because obviously it would be a very subtle thing. But
I might ask my old buddy Spawn Dogs to take a look at my ship in a little while. We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Okay, so next thing I want you to do, because you said your intention would be as soon as you kind of get there and get settled and you're starting to log and look information, you're going to be looking to see if anybody followed you. So I want you to do a perception check, and it's going to be a hard perception check. And add a setback die to that, because in this data caf lounge, if you were being followed, they would sort of have the advantage of being locals and having all of these locals around them. So go ahead and roll. We'll see what happens. One failure, one threat. All right. Add a strain for that threat. Actually, hold up. We're going to redo that roll. Because I forgot because of your advantage from that last roll with your success, add a boost die to it.
Oh.
Because I forgot that's what I was going to do with the advantage. So now
Let's see. 1, 2. 3. 1, 2, 3. And oh no, and but
There you go.
okay.
All right.
Ready?
Roll it. See how this goes. 0 success, 2 success. Okay. So, unfortunately, that didn't go.
Let's try one more time.
All right. So add 2 strain.
Keep try. You'll get it.
Yeah, let's do it one more time. No joking.
So add 2 strain, based off of those
Oh
threats.
no, joking. Okay.
Holy crap!
No, I just kept rolling. 2 strain.
Yeah,
1,
2 strain.
2.
All right. So that's based
Ow!
off of.
My body hurts.
So based off of sort of the general stress of the situation, now you kind of, now that you're surrounded by so many people, of course, and you're trying to remain nonchalant, but also trying to look, and it's just not. It's straining you a bit to try and accomplish this. All right, so now. Let's see. I want you to do a computer's check, and you're gonna make it easy difficulty. If you're just trying to look up general information to begin with, and then we'll do more checks if you try to dig a little bit more. All right. So.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? We're not even gonna do a check for this because it's just gonna be public knowledge. And if you're just doing a general. What would you search for? Like if
I guess I'll just look for his name and see what comes up.
Okay, so
Searching for porn.
you're not. The internet is for porn. So.
I feel like
be
it would be.
Keep going.
I feel like it would be two of these creatures. They just stand there really serious and be like, "Yeah, we will be doing. We will be doing."
So I'm having to stay on track. My brain just went off on this total derail. Anyways, so the thing is, she never gave a name to her opposition. She wasn't going to reveal that information until she had an affirmative that you were going to move
I guess
forward.
I'd look up her name to see if there's anybody on the general web that it discusses is opposed to her or has openly spoke out against her on their open network.
Okay. So as you okay, yeah. So as you sort of use the search function on their data network to look up
Perator Shinzo.
Perator Geneth Fendrel.
Okay.
Obviously, you get some basic information that she is the Perator of this territory. What was it called? Gotta look at my notes again.
Perator want a cracker?
It's Kartan, I think, is what it is. The Kartan territory. Let me double check. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Yes, the Kartan. So she's the Perator of the Kartan territory, and she has been for about 7 years now. And there's just sort of general information about her. It's kind of what you would expect for politicians. It's not all kind words and such. It's back and forth opinions about her career and certain things that she's done. From that, you see that she has made changes in her office position, which are from an effort to standardize and more uniformize, if that's a word, the way that the Kartan territory conducts itself, sort of make it a more and more united territory and culture in general. You also see that she is some news that is more general information, nothing too specific, but that she is in the race for the for the position of. Dang it! I gotta memorize this stuff better. For the position of council primus, which is the council primus of the Council of Allied Territories. And you're trying to sort of garner information from that, and you see that this is sort of a head position on this council. It's more or less the arbiter that as you kind of research what that is, terminology, and get the definition of it. So as you do some more research into the council primus sort of position and such, you find that there are several people that, of course, are putting in for that title, that office, but among them, the general consensus seems to be that there are two main opponents for this office, two main potentials to attain that office. One is Kenneth Fendrel, and the other is another Perator from the Halbegardia territory, and his name is Banis Yorn. And so you get that information that he is a Perator from another territory, a neighboring territory actually to Cartan. So you're doing some research into the what do you call it, the you're trying to get general information overall, but you see, like, okay, he's the Perator of this territory. Where is this territory? You see it's neighboring Cartan. And you can see that his political career is a little more quiet overall, but it's sort of a steady career, not bringing too much change. But there are rumors surrounding him and sort of questions as to his conduct and his use of assets, essentially, that seem like could be a manipulation of government assets, but it's also not, like, directly out there. There's no direct evidence that he has used government assets for personal agenda. But you don't see anything that of, like, very, like, questionable. Basically, you don't see anything that would give you reason to believe that his actions are immoral either.
Okay.
So I know I kind of covered a lot of ground there. I hope you retained a lot of that.
Some of it, but
okay.
When
from the research that you said your character would do at this point,
I feel so smart.
Trying to get information. Again, it's kind of public knowledge stuff, and it's more general sort of information. Doesn't seem like there's extensive in-depth articles with necessarily strong evidence one way or another. But that's the information that you've gleaned, and of course you've tried to conduct yourself in a way that doesn't draw too much attention to you, but does but that you just kind of try to use your knowledge that you're going to stand out anyways, an outworlder, and try to hide in plain sight, basically. So
Right.
So yeah, I think based on what you said your character would do, that's kind of what you would have garnered to this point.
Right. I guess at that point, now that I have his name, seen all this stuff, at least seen enough generally about him, I probably won't be able to get much more information. So I'd probably try to head back to Garen as nonchalantly as I can and let him know what at least I discovered, the guy's name, and what information I could look up.
Okay. So you would basically at that point that would be Exodus would just say, all right, well that's what I'm gonna get and move on. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So um, uh, let me think about something for a second. Okay. Go ahead and make your way back to the ship. Um, so during that time that Exodus is out and about doing his thing, was there
I'm
anything
back.
specific? Oh, you're back. Okay. Um, that was actually good timing. So
Hello. I have a turn.
before we get to that point in the narrative of Exodus actually coming aboard the Ardent and all that kind of stuff, I just wanted to double check with Kason and see, was there anything that you were going to specifically try to accomplish during that meditation session with Ator while Exodus is out doing his information gathering?
Um, no, she was just well, she okay, so she was feeling um now that she's gotten the clues and more freaking man just comes up and nudges my foot with his nose. Now that she's gotten more, she's gotten more clues to what she needs to do next. So now she's feeling a little more calm and collected and more peaceful. And so she's become after meditating, she's become more attuned with the force, even in this location.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Cool.
That's the narrative aspect. The game mechanic aspect is she just gained a force ring.
Oh, you invested your experience?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Cool.
Sweetums.
Cool. I like that you.
I,
I didn't know where you were going with that, so I'm glad that you added that sort of narrative aspect
I
to it.
also realized that when you first gave me experience, I'd put them in the left box.
Mm-hmm.
So the 70 was not spent. It was what I had left, and the 20 on the side was, I don't know what that was. So I've zeroed out the left box on my panel and put the 70 to the right. Because remember, I told you I didn't spend that as all of my XP.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remembered I'd been putting it on the left box because I didn't read
Oh.
where it says available XP on the right box. Yeah, I'd just been putting it in the XP box on the left.
Okay.
How the
So
hell do you have 70
yeah.
XP?
Hold on. Hold on. No. 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 Okay. So total XP is what you have spent.
Yeah,
Available.
I don't know what I used all that money and all those points to get all that XP in the beginning.
Okay. So that's the thing is we spent your XP on increasing your characteristics and buying ranks and things like that, right? Like you bought ranks in
Yes,
your
and then
talent tree.
the first match you gave me 5 more, and then I hadn't spent any since, and then I earned 10 more the last match and didn't spend that either. So that
Yeah.
was 35 more. So 35 plus what was it, another 25 or whatever it is, or 35 to get 70. So I spent all my XP except 35, and then now I've gotten 35. No, I spent 50. Wait, hold on. I added some to a card.
So okay, so here's the thing. Whatever you have spent needs to go into your total XP.
I don't know what I spent.
I'm
I
trying
don't
to.
know what I did here.
I know you don't have 70
Well, if you
experience available
manipulate
to
sense here,
spend.
that's 40 points right there.
Well, from just playing this game, I've gotten 35.
Okay,
from
so
just playing it.
all right, so you're.
And I had a bunch of XP left over. But I did spend something here. I did
Okay.
that tree. Hold on, 5, 10.
I'm just looking
20,
at these two
30.
trees that you have now.
This
Yeah,
one here.
That's 40 points
so
right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's 40, and then over here you've spent, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20.
This is what I've
30,
changed. And I
40.
did not take some of it out of here. 5, 10, 15. I did 20. This was initial setup. And then 20, 30. I did 30. That's
So
what I've done.
20, 30. Wait, what's this Artaru technique? Did you actually buy that?
Yes, I did all that. So I
So
have
there's
40.
30. So there's 50 there.
And then 5. Wait. 5.
It's 30 on manipulate and 10 on
20.
sense.
Yep.
Okay, so 50, 30, and 10.
This would make sense, right? No, wait.
50, 30, and 10. So that would
20,
be 90 experience
40.
so far that you've spent. Okay. I know you had.
No, wrong button.
Um,
I think this might be closer. Nope, other way. This might be closer. No, those are 10. This might be closer to available, and I think spent might be somewhere around here.
well, let me double check. Oh yeah, because you would spend experience
10,
buying.
20,
Did you
30,
increase?
40,
Did you?
50,
Do you remember if you increased any of your
60,
characteristics?
There's 9 points total
70,
in the abilities
80,
here.
Well, remember.
I can't remember
90,
what you start with.
90.
Well, you
Yes,
start.
90.
You start with 1 rank in several things based off your career.
Yeah, I can't
Right.
remember what that was though. How
And
many?
I think that's. I think
That was
he's.
6. I could be wrong though.
It's I think you're right. I think it's 4
90.
4 from the
90.
career and 2 from the, or 2 or 3. Hang on. All right.
That sounds right.
Let's see.
4 from career, 2 from specialization.
Let me just double check.
Yeah, double check that.
And that means he would have spent experience on buying ranks in some of that if he had more of that, which I think he might have. So
I did something. I just can't remember everything because I just realized that I've been putting things in the left box and I'm not doing my boxes right.
right. So from now on, just to be sure,
Now I got it. This is available to spend, and this is what I've earned and spent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what you've earned and already invested. So let me
Right.
come back around to character creation.
I think this is accurate. I think I might have about 30 available. Maybe 5 or so less.
Did you count the points you put into manipulate and sense?
Yes.
Okay.
That should be 90 total experience points on my characters on the skill trees.
Yeah.
But I know I've spent more in something else.
I didn't know if you spent any new points on the on your striker list there.
No, I haven't done anything.
All your new points you spent, you would have spent on, or all the points you put into manipulate and sense are like brand new. So I figured that would be where the points went.
Okay, so it's 3 of the 6 starting career skills gain 1 rank in each. So there's 3 there. And then
Only 3, huh?
And then I think it's 2 from the specializations.
It's 3, not 4?
Yeah, it says it right here in the book under career. It says, during this step of character creation, the player may choose 3 of the 6 starting career skills and have his character gain 1 rank in each of the selected skills free. Alright, and then specializations.
I think
during this step of the character creation, the player may choose 2 of the 4 additional career skills, yes, and gain 1 rank in it. So that'd be 5 total. And how many does he have a rank in?
9.
9?
Funny enough, I have 9 also on mine.
So that means you would have spent experience to buy ranks in them.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so well, and
I mean, he did too.
He did, and so I know that we used the purpose system for this, and I think he spent all of his.
I thought you spent all your on your purpose on points on mine.
No.
Oh.
Remember, the way that we did this initially was choosing the starting gear, right? That made sense for the character. So
I couldn't remember.
Yeah. All right. So let me see. With purpose,
I thought you said all his stuff that he had though. He spent his purpose points to get money for it. That's what I thought you said. I couldn't remember.
Honestly, I'm trying to remember myself.
Yeah, it's been over a month ago now.
All right, let's see. Age of Rebellion. I'm gonna have to wrap this up.
See, this
here.
is why I like having the total points on there.
Well, yeah, that's what we tried to do initially, and I thought
can
we
track
had
all
that.
this.
I thought we had that set for him. But
No, I made a mistake. I apologize.
that's okay. We'll get it sorted here. Determine. Where is
Beat me up over the head, why don't you?
duty 46?
Just trying to give you some news. Now you're yelling at me about weird stuff.
All right, let's see. Starting duty. Okay.
So yeah, that's what we're.
Why is yours that? Never mind.
All right, so you got 15 additional experience based off of the duty that you had to start with.
It's a big duty.
Okay, and then so that would have been
What duty?
Why is your total experience been 0, Gabe?
because I haven't been keeping track of it properly. I haven't from the beginning, and I should have been. I've been meaning to sit down and retally.
I have. So this is how much I have right there.
350.
That's accurate.
All right. So you'd have had an additional 15 starting experience based off of that, and buying 1 rank in each of them, that would have put you up to 8. Now, and then he had an additional 30 experience from the first session that he joined from the space battle.
And then 10.
And then
but
10.
then
So that would have
and
been
then I think
40. So if you bought another rank, that would have been 5 out of it. All right, and let's see. What was the starting experience that you get?
don't remember.
Do you actually?
Are you human? I think it's 100 if you're human.
I think it is 100. I think you're right.
I'm a halvesies.
Well, we yeah. What did we do for that? The half Marillion, half.
We split something. We did one thing good on one side and one thing good on another. I didn't get both fits.
All right, hang on.
I can't remember how we split it.
Let me look at that. I know there's Marillion and human in the species. Humans get. Dang it. I'm trying to get to where the species are. Morality. Here we go. Okay, so human. That's Syrian. It's this alphabetical order. Is it not? Okay, humans get. Yeah, humans get 110 starting experience. Let's see. Game with 1 rank each in 2 different non-career skills of their choice. That's part of where it came from. That's right. Humans start with game with 1 rank each in 2 different non-career skills of their choice, and they still may not train these above 2. Mirialans, sorry.
Well, okay, so that would make sense for these two. So,
all right, and then let's
so
see.
1, and that's 2 right there. So that'd knock it down to 7 skills. And he said 5 points for the 5.
Does he have a rank in either discipline
starting.
or cool?
Yes. Cool.
Okay, so that's what we did is from Marillion. So we kind of split it.
And he's got 1 in education there.
So what we did for that was
Both are non-career.
What we did for that was I think we did 100 starting experience based off the Mary Allen, and then we did 1 rank in cool, and then 1 rank in something of his choosing. So that's where 2 of those came, because the Marylands have 1 rank in either, or 1 rank in discipline and 1 rank in cool. So to split the difference between human and Murray Allen was I had him choose either discipline or cool for one rank, and then hit a non-career skill of his choice for the other.
Gotcha.
So that's where those 2 additional ones came from. Let's see, and then yeah, he started with 100 XP starting out.
So I see agility's at 4 and willpower's at 3. Nothing's at 1. I don't know what he would have started out with the character.
Let's see, Mary Allen's humans are 2 across the board.
Yep.
Mary Allen's are 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2. 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2. So he would have had to invest some experience in increasing his characteristics, right?
I don't know how much though. I don't know which one he would have had.
Well, with Mary Allen, I think we went with Mary Allen base stats. Let's see, because 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2. Yeah, I think we basically went with Mary Allen base stats.
Okay, so he boosted this to 2, boosted this from 3 to 4.
So that
and
would have
boosted
been
this from 2 to 3. So that's 30 points for that one, 20 points for that one, that's 50.
and 40
And then
points for that one.
40 points for that one, that's 9. That's 10 points out of the 100 left.
Okay. So his skills down here then, if he's got 9. 1, 2, 3.
And 7 of those are accounted for from just the starting stuff.
Okay.
5 or 3 for the how's it called? Career, 2 for the specialization, and 2 for the race traits.
Right.
So that's 7 out of the 9, so it leaves 2.
I know cool.
Which is 10 points.
Cool was from his species, and so is education, because that's his non-career skill. And so that accounts for those 2.
Wait, what the hell is this about? Oh, I don't know what happened.
That's based. You can't do that one. Remember, that's characteristic.
But look.
Oh, weird.
That's got to be changed.
Oh, no. Remember, yeah, we got to go into edit mode for that, and then increase.
There you go, edit mode.
And then increase with the plus and minus there.
Yep. There you go. Agility 4. Okay. There we go.
All right. So the lightsaber is career. All right. So he's a Seeker Atari.
Good thing we fixed that before he started playing with a lightsaber.
I know, right?
Yeah, no kidding. That would have been a huge. Let's see.
Missing 2 a year die.
Seeker Atari Striker. So his career skills were knowledge, xenology, piloting planetary, piloting space, ranged heavy, survival, and vigilance. Alright, so yeah, he has survival and vigilance, but no ranks in those. So piloting space and planetary. Perception. Okay, so piloting space and planetary, those were. You got a rank in each of those. Xenology. I want to say he would have purchased that rank in Xenology. Alright, let me get some counters out here. And we'll start with, oh well, I guess that works.
Well, I mean, if it's for the starting XP,
he had
if it's 100, and we took care of So the 100 points would explain everything on his character sheet there. So the only thing that's left to explain would be the all the ability points.
All right, so he would have 115 total starting, right? Because he would have 100 from his species start off and 15 from the duty.
Um, what's duty? The
Sorry, that would be the purpose points. It's the
purpose points. Okay. So you gave him 15 points for his purpose points.
yeah, as far as
So
I
that
know.
explained 3 of these ones right here up top.
And then
Or the jump up and a Taro technique if that's what he was doing. I
he
don't
got
know.
another 30 from the first session, which would be
That would explain the manipulate.
145, and then another 10 from the last
Wait,
session.
not manipulate. Which one is it? Where
I
is it?
removed them all.
Oh, you removed them all.
I think I spent. I think I got click happy at one time.
Okay, so he would have 155 starting experience, or no, 155 experience total to this point. 100 starting, well, 150 starting.
Oh, to this point.
To this point, he'd have 115 starting between the 100 starting from his species and the 15 from the purpose. He'd have had 30 from the first session,
10 from the next.
10 from the last. Okay, so that's 155 total up to this point that he would have had available to spend.
Wait, first session? You mean the first time he played with us, like a year ago?
No. From when he came in with the space combat
Okay.
session before last, we each got 30 experience.
Oh,
for
well,
that.
what about before? How many points do you get of XP from previous
This
sessions?
was a fresh start.
Yeah, I didn't
Oh,
have
okay.
I didn't have anything carry over.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah. So his character sheet is 100 points, and then everything else would go on to whatever he's got into.
Okay, so
He
he got
said that's 150 total, so that'd be
155,
50 points on
155 total.
155, so 55 on here.
Okay, so we're gonna
And
character sheet is 100. You said
yeah, that's 100. Because that's not 9 points in the skills there at 5 points apiece. 7 of them are already accounted for just from the other stuff. 2 would explain the 10 XP there, and then the other 90 XP would be for the characteristics. So that's 100 XP right there.
okay. So you got 55 points as far as all of this out here.
This is 30 right here. This is 15. So that's 45 right there.
Okay, so that's actually that gets us back to where we would be. Because
That's 45 points on these. So that's 145 points spent.
Okay,
But I'm
so
gonna see.
Out of 155, so he'd have 10 points left.
which makes sense because I don't think he had invested the 10 from the last session.
No, I'll leave that.
All right, so you probably want to move this up then.
Leave that on.
155 total. Okay.
Okay, no. He's got 145 spent total. With
No,
10.
not spent. I'm talking about total XP. That's total XP.
I thought total was spent. Total is
No,
what
it's
you've
total
spent.
XP. Like how much XP you've accumulated to this point. Available is how much you haven't spent.
That's what I'm saying. Available is how much you have available to use. Total XP, to me, it makes more sense to make that what you have spent. Otherwise, it's going to get confusing.
No. This
Kason,
is your total XP for your character. Like, so if you've gained 100 levels, you have however much XP got you that 100 levels. Now, if you didn't put all your points into those level or all those level points into something, that would be your available XP.
listen to me, Kason. The math, because of how sessions break up, unless you keep notes, like detailed notes, you're going to be confused. We're going to end up in the same situation we're in right now. Because if you say 155 here and 10 available, like it's easier.
It'll look like
165. Right. It's easier to say total XP is total XP spent versus how
So
much
that
is
both
available.
boxes that
Then
both
you just
boxes
say
add up
spent
to total.
XP.
Well,
The total is the total XP is just what it says, total XP, not spent XP. It specifies total XP as in that's the total amount of experience you have accumulated so far in the game.
okay,
That's how it is for any game.
let me rephrase it.
When it comes to XP spent, when it comes to available XP, that's just how many points you currently didn't spend yet.
Okay,
So once you spend that XP, that has nothing to do, changing this doesn't have anything to do with changing this.
let me rephrase it then. I do understand where you're coming from, and you're right. Typically, in a lot of games, total experience represents how much experience has come to your character, whether you have spent it on things or not. I get that. You're right. What I'm saying is, I think we should use the total XP box as the total experience spent box in order to avoid confusion, so that we don't run into another situation like we're looking at right now that we've spent the last like 10-15 minutes talking about, trying to figure out, wait, something doesn't look right, where's da 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 da. If we leave it as the total experience spent is what's been invested, then we can say, okay, this is what he has spent. If we divide this up between, or my character or your character, whatever the case may be, if we divide this up between, okay, we can do the math and see where it's lined up. To me, that
Is it easier,
simplifies it.
Gabe? Is it easier
That's
for
weird.
you?
That doesn't.
Is,
Okay, I mean, I
let
just
me
don't
ask a
understand how that
general.
makes sense to you guys.
Let me ask a general question. Is it easier for you to look at total XP and go, okay, that's what they've earned, and then available is that's what they have left to spend out of what they've earned, like it is
Yes,
written?
that's what it means.
Or is it easier for you to see, okay, between both boxes they've earned 155, but have only spent 145?
What's
That
easy?
doesn't make any sense for the definition of the word total.
Okay, Kason.
That's my problem.
I get that you're focusing on the definition, but to me, I'm focusing on what's created the situation we're in right at the moment. Where this whole
Yeah,
thing.
What's really
what
created
the
this situation is
was
me
he
not
thought
doing it right.
this box was this box.
I'm not talking about who's done what. I'm talking about a solution for clarification for the future. Okay?
Well, clarification in the future, all you have to do is if you gain 30 points, you put 30 points right there, 30 points right, and then whenever you spend points,
These are
it has nothing to do with this right here. You just go take off the points from here and put the points wherever you want on this stuff. Whenever I gain XP, when you tell us we get this many points per session, I put that amount of points gained on added onto here, and put that amount of points gained added onto, and then what I spend comes from here.
Okay, so again, I understand.
I'm just saying, like, I get that you like.
No,
I get what you're trying to do with like saying, instead of saying total XP, just say use it as spent XP. But I just don't understand how that makes sense to you guys for as far as confusion goes.
Okay.
When it comes to total XP,
it's like the case, and this is what I'm saying, and I understand what you're saying as far as the definition of total XP, and I understand how it works using the total XP box the way that you're talking about, saying that it is total XP gained regardless of whether you've spent it or not. It's just what has come to your character. I get that. I'm looking at this from the perspective, the confusion that we've encountered is trying to figure out how he got what he's got based on the cost of the experience, and like figuring out what he still had available versus what he spent and all that kind of stuff. The reason I'm saying this is because if we came back to this and we said, okay, what we're seeing here.
Hey, guys, I hate to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I don't mean no disrespect.
No, I know you gotta go.
I have to go.
Yeah.
So whatever you guys want to do from here, I understand whatever kind of XP you want to hand out. Just throw them in my boxes, and you can update me on what you guys decide. Okay?
Sure, no problem, man.
all right, we're just gonna rearrange all your points that you spent. You are now a smuggler.
right. All right.
You are now a person you will hate. Okay, it's good playing with you guys today.
All right. Yeah. We will. We'll see you next Saturday as long as
All right,
things allow. Okay.
All right, later, man.
Bye.
all right, bye guys.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream because right now we're just gonna be going over technicalities and stuff. So hang on one sec.